Mom, Dad, I humbly suggest you save some money and shop Amazon for back to school. It's for my growth, meaning my body's growing at an alarming rate. And clothes you buy me this year will be very small very soon. Plus, the clothes I love today will be out of style tomorrow. But at least your wallet doesn't have to be my fashion victim if you shop low prices for school at Amazon. Hopefully this is helpful. Amazon. Spend less, smile more.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day, or ITV Hub, or all four, but you get that message that says this content is not available in your location, a Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the #1 rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package, which is instantly downloadable to your device, and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Friday the 9th of August, and it's going to be a brief podcast because time is against me. Unfortunately, some questions that I answered on yesterday's pod, I believe, got corrupted when the file transferred to Guy. But to recap, for the terrible set of lads 11, I went with Bruno Fernandes, the former Flamengo goalkeeper who spent time in prison for murder. In defence, we went with Dani Alves at right back, Ashley Cole at left back. Obviously, varying levels, but both terrible sets of lads. Centre back, I think, was Ruben Semedo and John Terry. Midfield, Adam Johnson right wing, Rubinho left wing, Joey Barton and Graham Ricks in the middle of the park, and up front, Edmundo and Mason Greenwood. And then for a team to just volley them out of the stadium, we went with Chilavert in goal, Mascherano right back, Stuart Pearce left back, Puyol and Miguel Angel Nadal at centre back, Souness holding the midfield, Keenan Vieira box to box, this wasn't the original, but I'm changing it slightly. I'm going to put Zidane as a 10, and then I'm going to go with Roberto Mancini and Zlatan up front. So that's that. So yeah. Right, on to the Olympics. Currently taking place, we have the gold medal match in the men's tournament. And last I checked, Spain are winning by 3-1 against France and closing in on a fantastic double of European Championships and Olympic gold. Congrats to them if they pull that off. Yesterday, we saw Morocco claim the bronze medal. A tremendous achievement for them. A 6-0 win over Egypt. Very, very impressive performance. Dominant from start to finish. Tough on Egypt, who had a really good tournament. But El Zalzouli scored on 23. Rahimi scored on 26. El Khanos scored on 51. Nakache on 73. Rahimi scored on 64. He made it 4-0. Nakache made it 5. And Ashraf Hakimi wrapped it up in the 87th minute. So very, very commanding victory for the Moroccans. And Sofiane Rahimi almost certainly securing himself the golden boot with 8 goals, unless Mateta or Fermin Lopez score 4 in today's final. He will take home. Well, I don't even know if there is a golden boot, but he would win it regardless. On the women's side, today we have had the bronze medal match, which was between Spain and Germany. Took me a second there to remember. Spain and Germany. And Germany come out successful, 1-0 winners over a highly fancied Spanish team. A penalty in the 65th minute from Juliet Guin, giving Germany the bronze and denying Spain a medal. I thought pre-tournament that Spain would win this competition, reigning World Cup winners. I thought right up until they lost their semi-final to Brazil that Spain would win this tournament. But congrats to Germany on the bronze, and tomorrow it is Brazil versus the United States in the gold medal match. But just to go back to the men's tournament, so look, everybody knows that Spain are potentially set to another period of dominance. They've got an incredibly talented team. They've got great youngsters coming through. Everybody knows that the French, if they were managed by a real football manager, not a clown, would be getting to the semi-finals and finals of every single competition and potentially winning all of them, because their level of talent is just absolutely off the charts. I don't know that we've ever seen a nation produce as wide an array of talent across pretty much every position as France have in the last 10 years. Like, it is outrageous. You want goalkeepers, they've got goalkeepers. Left backs, there's left backs. Right backs, there's right backs. Dozens of centre backs. Dozens of midfielders. Loads and loads of wingers. Some great striking options. And Kylian Mbappe, who's an alien. You've got everything you could possibly want to put together a dominant national team. It's just that they have a manager who's an imbecile and won't leave either. Like, won't leave. He is holding them back. The fact that this era of French football only has one World Cup and no European Championships is a scandal. He should have been sacked after the World Cup, because the talent gap between them and Argentina was enormous. Enormous. I'd go as far as to say that the Croatian team that they bet in 2018 had more talent than the Argentine team. Now, Argentina had Messi, but Messi at the end of a long tournament, well into his 30s, whereas that Croatian team were largely in their primes. Argentina have a bunch of talented players that will come on and do really well, and obviously they've gone on to win another European champion, or another Copa America, but I think that the talent gap, I shouldn't say that the Croatian team were more talented. What I would say is that the talent gap between France and Argentina was bigger than the talent gap at the time between France and Croatia. That's actually how I would say it. But anyway, that wasn't my point. My point was everybody knows that they're two of the elite teams and are going to be the two of the elite teams moving forward. But I think Morocco are potentially set to have a really good run here. Now, I think they haven't won the AFCON since 1976, which frankly is a bit of a scandal. They did really well at the last World Cup, and everybody was very impressed, obviously. But they haven't won an AFCON in 48 years, which is a scandal for a nation that produces so much talent. But when I look at their squad, I really do think that potentially in the coming years, we will see them not only win an AFCON, but potentially run a couple back-to-back. Now, I'm not overly keen on the goalkeeping situation, and I don't know if they've got a young goalkeeper coming through, but Bono he's solid. You know, he's still only 33. He is solid. Defensively, I think we're going to see them improve. And they were really good defensively at the World Cup. But Hakimi is only 25. And he's already one of the 2 or 3 best right backs in the world. Chadi Riyad is a massive talent. A massive talent. And the fact that he declared for Morocco and stuck with Morocco when he did get overtures from Spain, I think is huge. He can play centre-back, he can play left-back. You've got Nea Begard, who I think is excellent. It hasn't worked from a Palace, but I wouldn't put too much, or at West Ham rather, but I wouldn't put too much in that. Much of that was down to injuries. Yusi, the young defender at Real Madrid, is another highly regarded one, fullback. He could become an important player for them. Nazar Mazraoui is still only 26. He'll be 27 later this year. He's another excellent fullback. So I think there's a lot of promise for them in defence. In midfield, you've got Amrabat, who's only 27. He'll be 28 later this month. El Azzouzi is a very, very talented player at Bologna. Very, very talented player. El Khanas is excellent. Brahim Diaz is very talented. Sabari is very talented. You've got Tarkhalan, who I'm not overly familiar with, and Unahi, who's at Marseille, who's excellent, was great at the World Cup. You've also got Amir Richardson, who's a big, big talent, and I think going to be a significant upgrade for them in midfield. Yusuf Mala at Empoli is worth giving games to as well. And then you look at the attack, and you obviously still got En-Nesyri, you've got Ziyech. Akumash is excellent at Villarreal. Big talent. Amin Adli, super talented. Ben Sakir, super talented. El Zazuli, super talented. Sofiane Diop is very talented. Ibrahim Salah is very talented. Now, the question is whether there's a goal scorer on the horizon. Can they either develop a goal scorer or maybe dip into the diaspora and find a goalkeeper? A striker. Find a goal scorer. Find someone of Moroccan descent who can come in and give them what they need up front. There's got to be somebody knocking around. But even if there's not, En-Nesyri's still only 27. And he is really, really good. If you supply him well, he will get you goals. And with the talent that they're able to put around him now, the likes of Diaz and El Khanas, who they haven't had, at the World Cup and such, plus graft in midfield, quality from full-back, solidity at centre-back, and a reliable goalkeeper, I think right now I would pick Morocco to win the next AFCON. I think they've got a good manager who they clearly all love playing for. I think the time is now for them to win another AFCON. The next one, I think, is 2026, which will be 50 years. It's far too long for Morocco with the talented players they have to go without winning. And I think this bronze medal, while it's obviously just the Olympics and it's under 23, it's under 23. Like, it gives you an idea of the future for Morocco. The fact that they've been able to go and win this medal. When we look at their squad for the Olympics and see who else potentially. Right. So Akram Nakash is a homegrown player. Medu Boukamir, centre-back for Charleroi. Bouchery, the midfielder at Saint he's looked good in this. Ben Sakir is a very talented attacking midfielder. Akamash is a obviously wide player, as is Al Zuli. Richardson really does look the business as well. El Khanas looks like such a good player. Like, I think there's a lot of talent here. It's just going to be about finding that goal scorer, and you maybe need one more in defence, like a right-footed centre-back, because that will help for balance. That's assuming Riyadh plays left-back, which he may not. You could play Mazraoui as a centre-back. You could go Hakimi, Mazraoui, Agard, and Riyadh, launch Hakimi forward and just shift into a back three. And then you'll have quality in midfield and work rate and depth and aggression in midfield. We know that. You're going to have now tons of creativity and pace in wide areas and attacking midfield areas. So that goal scorer, now it could be En-Nesyri. It absolutely could. He is capable. But yeah, I think this is a really exciting time for Moroccan football that we're about to see over the next, 6, 7, 8 years. They're not going to be France or Spain, but I still think they can do really, really well. If we look at their record in the AFCON, so they win it in 76. So the next one, they're actually hosts, which is a big deal. The first time they'll have hosted it since 1988, when they finished fourth. So since winning it nearly 50 years ago, they've gotten to the final once. They lost in 2004. They got to the semi-final on 3 other occasions. They finished third once and fourth twice. They didn't qualify in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times they haven't qualified. So they haven't qualified far more often than they've even gotten to the semi-final stage. That's unacceptable for a nation with the talent that they have. But obviously, 4th place at the World Cup, 3rd place now at the Olympics. I think Morocco are going to win the next AFCON. And then, of course, remember, they're going to co-host the World Cup in 2030 with Portugal and Spain. So the 2025 AFCON is set to take place between the 21st of December 2025 and the 18th of January 2026. 24 teams, far too many, in 6 cities. The host cities will be Casablanca, Rabat, Tangier, Marrakesh, Agadir and Fez. Some decent looking stadiums there, to be fair, but far too many teams. There are not 24 African countries good enough at football to warrant having them all in the tournament. They need to shrink the AFCON. 16, there probably isn't even 16, but 16 is the right number. It used to be 16. It was changed in 2019. But it's weakened the product for sure. Diluted the talent, diluted the quality of games. But yeah, I do think Morocco are going to win the next AFCON. That's my early prediction, 18 months out. And I think they're in for a really good few years with some immense talent on the horizon for them. Right, I will be back after the break with a segment called What Are Chelsea Doing? See you in a sec.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with multi-view, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Right, welcome back. So, we need to talk about Chelsea. So Chelsea are set to add an 8th goalkeeper to their squad after agreeing a £17 million fee with Genk for 19-year-old Mike Penders. This follows signing Philippe Jorgensen from Villarreal for £21 million. And in their squad, they also have Robert Sanchez, Marcus Bettinelli, Dorda Petrovic, Lucas Bergstrom, Kepa Arrizabalaga, and Gabriel Slonina. Now, if we just look at Slonina, Penders, and Jorgensen, because it's quite clear none of the others have futures there. So Jorgensen is 22 years of age and has 1 season of senior football under his belt. Slonina is 20 years of age and has, I believe, 2.5 seasons of senior football under his belt. And Penders, like I say, is 19 years of age with 1 season under his belt. Like, I understand that... Actually, he doesn't even have one... Excuse me, he doesn't. He's got 2 games under his belt at senior level. I understand that what they think they're doing is they're going out and getting all the best young players before they explode. The issue is, you can only play 1 goalkeeper at a time, and 2 of these are going to have their careers negatively impacted by this stockpiling of players. When they signed Slonina for £10 million, the talk was, this is our future number 1. This is the guy who's going to be our number 1. Then they went and they signed Robert Sanchez for, I believe, £25 million. And they signed Dorda Petrovic in the same summer, so 3 goalkeepers for £14 million. Okay, so that's 11, say 10, 14 is 24, and 25 then is 49 million last summer on goalkeepers, 40 million this summer on goalkeepers. Now, I think we'd all agree Robert Sanchez isn't good enough. They got a good look at Petrovic last year. They have decided he's not good enough. Slonina at 20 is probably not close to ready to play for Chelsea. Penders is definitely not ready to play for Chelsea. and will likely go back to Ghent on loan for a year, which means 22-year-old Jorgensen, with one season, is their starting goalkeeper. They will have spent £90 million. £90 million in 2 summers on 5 goalkeepers. And the hope that they have is that one of them, with one season behind him, is ready to walk in and start. That's a recipe for failure. Now, look, I hope the kid does well, but it's a lot of pressure and there's going to be uncertainty in front of him. Because in front of him, you've got Reece James at right back, their captain, who misses a ton of games every season. Now, behind him, they do have a really good option in Malo Gusto. Personally, I'd have sold Reece James and given the starting job to Gusto. But here we sit. Left back, they don't have any idea who's starting there. It's been a rotating cast all summer. They did go out in the summer and sign themselves a left back. They signed Caleb Wiley from Atlanta, who's 19 and most likely going to get sent out on loan. Nowhere close to ready for the Premier League. They have no idea who their starting left back is, as we sit here right now. There's talk that Ben Chilwell will be sold if they can find a buyer. It's going to be very hard to find a buyer for a near 28-year-old player on his wages with his injury history. Is it Mark Cucurella? Maybe it's him. Maybe it's him. Is he a title-winning left-back? I don't think so. They could play Renato Viega there, 21-year-old that they signed this summer from Basel, who's got less than 40 first-team games to his name. A season and a half of first-team football to his name, and truthfully isn't a left-back. He's a defensive midfielder who can play in other positions. So they don't know what to do at left-back. So that's 2 question marks from 3 positions. And the one where we know who the starter will be, Reece James, is also a question mark because he's always hurt. Now at centre-back, you've got Disasi, Tosin, and Wesley Fofana for the right-sided centre-back. Who's the starter? Does anybody know? Don't think so. There's another question mark. Left-side centre-back. I would say it's going to be Trevoh Chalobah, ahead of Badiashile, ahead of Bashir Humphreys. That would be my guess. That is the only certainty I would have in that back line, is Levi Colwill. The only one I think is definitely going to be a starter. Him and James will be starters, and definitely going to be available. But he had some injury issues last year himself. But I think that defence is all over the place. Like, I can't... Looking at all of the players they have there, there's no goalkeeper in back 4 there that would fill me with confidence. None. As talented as a lot of these players are, and there's loads of talent here, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Then, we've got a double pivot that doesn't work in Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. You've also got Leslie Ogochukwu, Carney Chukwuemeka, Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Cesare Caicedo, Romeo Lavia. Like, what's the midfield? Andre Santos is on with the club. He was just sent out on loan as well. What's the midfield? They don't seem to know yet. It will be Caicedo and Enzo. It doesn't work, but it will be. And then you've got all manner of questions in attack. They're looking to bring in Samu Amora-Dion. So you'll have him and Jackson as the 9s. Neither of them are proven reliable goal scorers. Who knows who's going to play on the wings? Cole Palmer probably plays one wing. Where does that leave Nkunku? I had assumed he'd play the other wing. Maybe he is the 10, maybe Palmer plays right wing. And news has come out today that they've agreed a £60 million fee for Pedro Neto. Now, I love Pedro Neto. I think he's a fantastic player. He's also incredibly injury prone. So can you rely on him? What about all the money you spent on Mikhailo Mudryk? What happens to him now? What about all the money you spent on Raheem Sterling? What happens to him now? This is before we even get into these young players they've got lined up to come in future years, like Estevao, like Kendry Paez, this other Brazilian kid that they're attempting to sign at the moment from Grêmio. Like, I would look at Palmer, Nkunku, and Neto as a 3 and say, okay, I can see that working brilliant. Genuinely, I think that could be a special line. But can I trust Neto to stay fit? Can I really trust him to stay fit? And even if that line is special, if the midfield doesn't work behind them and there isn't a reliable number 9, what exactly are they doing? Like, you look at their summer business thus far, and I said the other day, this is the type of window I'd expect from a Crystal Palace or a Bournemouth or even Fulham. Omari Kellyman, paid 19 million for him. You've no idea if he's going to be good enough to play in the Premier League. None. He was in the Villa setup for 2 years. He's very, very talented. Very, very talented. But he's not a £19 million footballer at this point. He signed Tolson. He's a good centre-back for a mid-table team. Mark Gui, 5 million. He's 18 years of age. Is he your option up front? Dewsbury Hall, good player, good starter for a mid-table team, not a starter for the top end. Renato Viega's a long way from ready. Caleb Wiley's a long way from ready. You're going to bet the house on Jorgensen as your starting goalkeeper by the sounds of it. You've signed Aaron Anselmino from Boca Juniors and loaned him back. Another young centre-back, completely unproven. I have questions over whether or not he is going to be Premier League ready come January when he arrives with you. He's one I could see going on loan a bunch. Omar Diem will get done, Henders will get done, and Neto will get done. So that would bring Chelsea to 11 players signed. Only 2 of whom, Neto and Jorgensen, I would suggest are going to be starters this year. The other 9, who knows? That doesn't include Estevao Willian. He will be the 12th signing this season. And all that money is getting flushed and flushed away. And the team is improving marginally. There is no guarantee that Jorgensen will be better than Petrovic was last year. None. Now, I do think Neto will be better than what you had on the left wing last year, but ultimately he's not a big-time goal scorer, and you're going to be heavily reliant on Jackson and Omar Dion to score goals. Neither of them are guaranteed to get you goals, and then you're going to be heavily reliant on Cole Palmer to do what he did last season, and that's not a guarantee either. Because what if he gets less penalties this year? Teams are going to be more ready for him this year as well. It's an awful lot of money being spent for a team that right now I would have Chelsea finishing 7th or 8th. Right now I would say City, Liverpool and Arsenal are the top 3. Then I think it's Spurs, and not in order, just they'll be the top 3 that will compete for the title. The 4th Champions League spot, I think, is between Spurs, Villa, and the Toon. And I think I would at the moment I would pick Villa to finish 4th. Spurs and the Toon in with them in that group. And then below that, I would put United and Chelsea. With all this money spent. We also have to look at the manager. He's never managed a top-flight game in his life. He's got a season and a bit of management experience. You've given him the Chelsea job. Club with no stability. And no track record of backing managers with time and patience. Just a track record of sacking managers because you have no patience. We're a week and a bit out from the season. I think Chelsea have got question marks everywhere. Now, again, Palmer and Nkunku Neto could be a great three. We don't know that will be the three. I'm just guessing. We don't know who the 9 will be. And whichever option it is, we don't know if they can score enough goals. I mean, it could be Nkunku. But then is there enough goals behind them? Behind, if it's Nkunku, he's not going to get you 25 goals in the Premier League. He might get you 15. But you're going to need a bunch of goals then from your wingers and your attacking midfielders. Is there enough goals there? I don't think there is. It's a midfield double pivot that didn't work at all last year. Worked really well when one of them wasn't in it. But when Enzo was out or when Caicedo was out, it worked fine. The other one played much better. They don't play well together. And then there's just enormous questions with the defence and enormous questions with the goalkeeper. I would love an answer as to what they're doing. I really would. Like, you spent all this money. You don't have any left-backs at your club that are better than Lewis Hall or Ian Maatsen. You just don't. Now, you could make a case for Cucurella. Give me Hall and Maatsen all day, every day, over Cucurella and Ben Chilwell. And while they sold both of them well and got good money for them, there's still over 50 million down on that transaction of bringing in Chilwell and Cucurella and selling the other two. Add in Wiley and whoever else that they've brought in at left back, and they're 60, 70 million down. I'm not better off. It's maddening to watch what they're at. And watch how foolish they continue to be and how much money they continue to throw away. Now, in part, it's hilarious as well. This is an example of why Todd Bowley is not allowed any say in how the Dodgers are run or in how the Lakers are run. It's why he is not a decision-making partner with either of them. He just keeps his mouth shut and sits in the box watching games. But he's not allowed any say in how they go. It's why you don't appoint co-sporting directors, neither of whom have ever been anything like a sporting director. They're playing Football Manager in real life. And they're not getting better. I know they finished 6th last year as opposed to 12th the year before. But did anybody really think Chelsea were the 6th best team in the league last year? Like, the table does lie. It really does. This is an average team. And they're going to find this season that all this money spent, there's no plan. There's no plan there. And I've seen Chelsea fans say, oh, well, we're buying all these players now and then they're all going to develop. How are they all going to develop? What players have you developed in recent years? Like, where's this great track record of development? Who are your development coaches? You sack your coaching staff every summer. Your academy is really good, purely because you bring in so many numbers. Like the Chelsea Academy setup, read The Dream Factory by Ryan Baldy. Their academy setup is enormous. They bring in so many kids that by pure process of elimination, they're going to end up with a lot of really talented young players. But the way they've run this club since buying it is an absolute scandal. They would have a better team if they'd bought nobody and just committed to promoting academy players. They genuinely would. They'd have a better team. It would a team that would make sense. You'd have needed 1 or 2 buys, a goalkeeper, probably a 9, maybe one more in attack, maybe Cole Palmer. But they'd be so much better off if they just committed to the players that have come through their academy and giving them opportunities. Because you know what else? Those players would have given a shit. These lads that you're signing on 7 and 8 year contracts, they're rubbing their hands together because they're now financially set. You give young players long contracts like this, you lose a lot of the motivation a lot of them have. And I see Chelsea fans say, oh, we've got a really strict wage structure. No, you don't. No, you don't. Stop lying to yourselves. Yes, you've got a lot of players earning small amounts of money, relatively speaking, big amounts of money for the rest of us, small amounts of money in footballing terms, but they're still on 60, 70, 80 grand at 18, 19, 20 years of age. Do you think they're not going to come knocking in 2 years for a new deal? Is that what Todd Bowley thinks? I think it's what he thinks. I think he thinks that by signing them to these long deals, that he's never going to have to renegotiate terms with them. I genuinely believe that's what he thinks. Because I know for a fact that when he bought the club, he thought that if they were buying a player who had like 3 years left on the contract, they just inherited that contract. That's genuinely what he thought happened. He didn't understand why they had to go negotiate new terms. This guy's an idiot in footballing terms. He hasn't a clue what he's doing. And neither do the people he's tasked with running the club. I think Chelsea are going to finish out to the top 6 this year. And I would be surprised if the manager sees out the season. I'll be back after the break. Right, welcome back. So it's £54 million for Neto. It's €62 million. Spurs have agreed a £65 million deal, including add-ons, for Dominic Solanke. So I think that's a good signing for them. I really do. Lee Carsley has been appointed the interim manager of England. Fair play to him. I think he'll do well. I really do think he'll do well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with the job full-time. Right, on to the gossip then. Liverpool maintain a strong interest in Anthony Gordon. This is from a nonsense clickbait article by Theo Squires, who is an awful journalist, yesterday. Unai Emery wants to sign João Felix. Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain are looking at Josh Achempong as a potential option. Super highly rated young Chelsea defender. Leicester are nearing a deal for Buonanotte on loan. Real Sociedad are trying to convince Martin Zubimendi to reject a move to Liverpool. I think it looks like that deal's going to happen now. Liverpool have rejected multiple offers for Sepp Vandenberg. Brentford have agreed a loan deal for Jens Cahoust. Valencia sporting director Miguel Angel Corona says Atletico Madrid tried to cancel their move for Conor Gallagher to prioritise Javi Guerra. Birmingham have agreed a deal with Rennes to sell Jordan James, the young Welsh midfielder. Marseille are interested. It looks like Eddie Nketiah is actually going to Marseille on a loan with an obligation to buy. It also looks like West Ham have nicked Todibo from Nice on a loan with an obligation to buy from under the nose of Juventus. Bournemouth are in advanced talk to sign Julian Araujo from Barcelona. It's a decent deal. It's a good right back, so that's something they needed. He'll be good competition for Aaron's. Billy Koumetio has joined Dundee from Liverpool. And Fulham are stepping up their interest in Diego Carlos. So that's everything from me today, folks. I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.